Food court, food court, food court.
Hey, everybody. Happy Sunday. Welcome to the Preacher After Show here at the Stream.tv. I'm Jocelyn Polite, and we just finished another explosive episode of Preacher. And here to break it all down with me are my amazing co-hosts.
Hey everybody, I'm Timothy Michael. Follow us on Twitter. I'm going to be on Twitter using the hashtag PreacherAS. Also follow us on Facebook at PreacherFanGroup. And over to my right.
I am Kira Lynn, and you guys, I am on the YouTube chat, so please comment, tell us what you thought about the episode, and we could possibly give you a shout out.
Shout out.
All right. Also follow us on Twitter at PreacherFanShow. So you can just tweet us and let us know what you thought of tonight's episode and just interact with us during the show. All right. So this was a really good episode, I thought.
Yeah.
And
Yes.
Quincannon has always been, I said it. Quincannon has always been a mystery to us, you know, and so we got some
creepy
serious,
mystery.
a creepy mystery, and we got some serious backstory and understanding with him. And so I think you put it really well, Kira. You said, now we understand his sadistic ways.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, does that we kind of understand his sadistic ways, but do we feel bad for him? I mean, his whole family died in a ski lift accident. That's terrible.
I feel bad for him.
I feel bad for him.
I feel bad for him
Well,
too.
I feel bad I mean, I don't know, like who he is now, and when I see him standing on that little crate, and you know, and the stuff that he does with like the cows, and then no, but I mean, but he losing his family, you can see why he's so disconnected.
Well,
I
here's
feel
my
like.
thing. I feel like everybody has it, not everybody, but certain people have that in them before something like this happens.
True.
So I think that it was just waiting to come out, you
Right.
know? I feel like you don't just flip, like, because if that happened to me, I wouldn't, like, go crazy, you know? At least I don't think I would.
Well, he had such a traumatic experience that actually just came out. Like it was, what do they call it? Magnified.
Right.
Even though,
Oh, yeah. Well, they died on, what was that, a ski lift, one of those trams that take it up.
Yeah.
I am
which
never
was
going to get
awful.
on
Yeah,
one
I
of
know.
those things.
That
There's
was-
one in Palm Springs. I will never get
I was
on
gonna
one of
say
those. Hell no.
they have one in New York going to Roosevelt Island, and I was like, I've never been on that.
I'm gonna still go.
I would go.
Yeah,
I'd go
like
with
why
you.
not? Well, his relationship, we also got a glimpse into his relationship with Jesse's dad. And we got a little bit of that before in a previous episode, but I think this time we really saw what's going on with, I'll call him Odin because I'm tired of Quincannon, but what's going on with Odin and him wanting, everyone to just denounce God. And
Yeah.
he did that with the father, as well.
I also kind of like how they tied in the last, I guess it was maybe 3 or 4 episodes ago, when they showed Jesse in the chair and he stole the ashtray.
Yes.
And then he walked by the door and he like looked into the room, but we didn't see what he was seeing.
No, we did.
And now we did.
Right, exactly. Well, he had his entire family in there. Which I thought it was like, I'm so sick. I thought it was cattle. Like, I mean, I really did. I thought
But
it was.
he had a cow.
He did have a
hanging
cow.
out of
He did have a
the
cow.
office. But who has bodies of their family shipped to their office? We are in Annville, Texas.
We are
but
in Annville,
really,
Texas.
like,
Yeah. I don't know. He's a creepy guy just all the way around, and I think you're absolutely right, Tim, in saying that that's always been there, and I just think that this tragedy just brought it out. And the other thing about him that is so interesting to me, I guess you can say, is when he's trying to take over this church. He's trying to take Jesse's church. The lecturing on top of this little crate, and he's like lecturing everybody about, what they need to do to run up there and go get this church and everything like that. I mean, he really is like the mayor or the governor, it seems like.
Well, it brought me back to that episode when the girl fell in that hole.
Yeah,
and he like took her her body
Brothel
out. And she was like,
paintball.
yes, brothel paintball, my favorite episode. And he was like giving this speech about like, guys, watch what you're drinking, and girls, watch where you're walking. Like he has this weird sense of humor, like
Right.
this
It's
sadistic,
dry.
sense of
Right.
humor that it creeps me out, man.
So with that, do we really think that he's gonna do something good? Because the mayor made it sound like he's going to do some amazing things for the community once he takes over this church and bulldozes it down, and that he's going to do. By the way, that's a lot of land. How much of that
Yeah.
land belonged to Jesse's
Now,
dad?
I just have to tell you though, I mean, have you guys been to a food court in the mall?
Yes.
It ain't that big.
Right, exactly.
So it's only going to be
Right.
a section of that entire area. But yeah, what else is he going to
Well,
do with
they're
it?
talking about schools and different things like that. So I'm like, okay, you're saying the schools are overcrowded, that the children have 38 kids in the class, so it's like you need more schools. Are you planning on doing that?
But that's what Miles was saying to Emily. That's not necessarily what
True.
Kincannon was saying to his boys. You
Right.
know, he was just talking about, this is more buildings that he's going to build for the slaughterhouse
Okay.
and the food court.
And let's also keep in mind when he had that meeting with the Green Acre Group before he shot them to death, they were saying how the town is pretty much bankrupt. So I think he really wants this land to build all this stuff to revitalize the community and get
Right.
some money pumped into it. So
Which I kind of understand. I mean, I understand that. I like Jesse, but I understand because I'm looking at that land and I'm like, that is a lot of land. And for one little church to be sitting there all by itself. And it's like, what about the surrounding areas? Why can't there be other things that are built?
I get that, but is Kincannon really the guy that's really looking into the community?
No.
Really?
Yeah, you're right.
I mean, come on.
You're right. You're absolutely right. So off him. All right, Jesse. This was a big episode for Jesse and what he was going through. The guilt, which you recognized to him from last episode, the guilt with Eugene. So we really saw that, because he's like polishing off a bottle of Jack.
Mean, it literally manifested
Yes.
itself, which I thought was brilliant because we all were sitting there like, oh, it worked. He brought Eugene back. Like, that's crazy. And then it comes to light where, what did I say? It was a sixth sense.
It was there's sixth sense in this
This
episode.
sixth sense episode, I was like, oh, he's not even there.
Well, I thought he was back, but then I thought, like, you know what? The only thing that made me curious about that was when Eugene said, well, it's not that far down. And I'm sitting here going, what? Like, he just pulled him right up. And I thought, like, that's kind of weird.
I thought he was going to come back like half demon or something. Was that one of the
I
only
thought
one?
his face was going to be fixed.
Me too.
Did you think that?
Did you think that?
I really
No,
did.
it didn't even cross my mind.
I totally,
His face was
because when he
gonna be-
came up, I was
Me
like,
too.
his face is going to be normal. Okay.
That would have been
High five.
awesome.
That was
That would have been really cool. I feel bad for Eugene.
But poor Eugene, he's actually not there. And so that just goes to tell you what's going on with Jesse and how
Yeah.
deep this all is for him.
Okay, if he's not really there, is it a manifestation of Eugene in Jesse's head, or is Eugene dead and this is Eugene's ghost?
I think that it was a manifestation because, like we said, Jesse is so guilty. And I feel like, and in this episode they kind of hinted on it, that he felt so bad for keeping this power that he's not supposed to have. And it's clear why he's not supposed to have it, because in the way that he used it. Because as soon as he gave it away and then it came back to him, the manifestation was gone.
Right.
So it's like, I think he resolved it in his mind where he was like, actually, you know what? I think I'm really supposed to have this. Whereas before he was second guessing it.
I think he's okay, and on that note, I think he's also gotten, I don't want to say nicer, but something smoothed out with him. I don't know if it was the Jack Daniels,
Could be a little bit of Jack.
exactly. But something smoothed out with him this episode because he was just an a-hole last episode. He
Yeah.
really was.
Well, he let his ego get the best of him, and I
Right.
think him sending Eugene to hell, made him realize, oh shit, like maybe that maybe this is bigger than I am, what I am,
Exactly.
and yeah, I mean he even admitted to Eugene, like this is like he completely admitted to him that Eugene was completely right, that he shouldn't have had this power. It's bigger than he is, and what he was planning on doing to the community was wrong.
I'm glad you brought that up.
And speaking of the power, I thought the conversation with DeBlanc and Fior was an interesting one as well because I can't remember. I think it's Fiore said to him, "You're not doing anything good with this power." Which was true. It was like you're not doing anything that's really. I mean, except for at that moment when he wants to bring Eugene back, but it's like. For a moment, he had to think about it, I thought, when it was like Eugene for Genesis. You know what I mean? It's like, I got to give this power. Okay, well,
Which I thought was a fair.
very
trade?
fair.
Yeah.
Very fair.
I was like, okay, I didn't know where the episode was going to go if he gave it up. But
Right. Yeah.
I was like, I think that's a fair trade. I kind of want Eugene back. I kind of miss him.
I know, I did too. I kind of miss him too. I kind of like Eugene. He grew on me. Well, so DeBlanc and Fiore, here we go, singing again. They really, I don't understand how they don't know how to capture Genesis and that they didn't know that it would be kept in the can.
Well,
why wouldn't you know that? If you're from heaven, I really give you like a lot more credit if you're coming here from heaven.
I mean,
know?
you're really talking about the people that stood in front of a vending machine and like
You're right.
asked for a hamburger. Like, I don't think that they know as much as they should, being from heaven.
Worldly stuff, I expect them not to know, like hamburgers and vending machines, but how the spirit world interacts.
But I mean, let's keep in mind, this is the first time that this has ever happened. There has never been anything like this. So, I mean, they're in the same boat that we are. It's the first time.
Well, and it was funny because I think Jesse even brought up, he was like, it chose me, and then when they put him back, when they put Genesis back in the can, and Jesse questioned, he's like, well, what happened to everybody else? And that's where they said everybody exploded. I have to bring up, and I know that I mentioned it to you guys when we were watching the episode, but Trinidad in the chat actually brought up a good theory, basically saying that because Genesis is half angel and half demon, that the only reason why Jesse didn't explode is because he's kind of flawed in that way.
Right.
He's not
Yeah,
like,
that's a good one.
Mr. Holier than thou Christian. He's really flawed, and I think maybe that's the reason why Genesis thinks he's a nice place to call home.
He's half good, half bad.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
So that would be home for Genesis. Okay,
Good
really
call,
good. See, I love our people in the chat.
Trinidad.
That's awesome. Okay, well, one thing that was very shocking was Donnie, because I had no idea what Donnie was doing.
Yeah.
He, I don't know. He was leading the troops. He was like the
I know,
captain
what the
of
hell?
and then all of a sudden he takes off and he goes, and I was like, well, okay, what is he doing? But my question is, how do you make yourself lose your own hearing?
Didn't we all think though he was full on gonna like blow his brains
I thought
out?
he took himself
too.
out.
Yeah.
I thought he took himself
I
out.
was all when he was putting his head in, and I'm like, is he gonna try to slam his head? Is he gonna try
Right.
to decapitate
I didn't think that
himself?
would've worked.
Well, Donnie is not exactly the sharpest tool
No,
in the
he's
shed,
not.
but he was smart enough to take his hearing out.
And
How
is
do
that
you do
really
that?
smart, though? I don't think that's smart. It's gotta stay
I thought
there.
he didn't I hear the gun go off?
It did,
I
but
did, but that's what made him deaf.
Oh,
because
by
it was
his
in
ear.
it was in an enclosed
Okay,
space. And
okay,
it was
got
by
it,
his
got it,
ear.
got it.
yeah.
So
So
that was-
that's how he kept himself from getting having Jesse use the word on him.
Was I the only one who thought that? Because before Donnie made his entrance into the church, they showed the fire extinguisher. Was I the only one who thought that it was going to be Cassidy?
No, yeah, I thought it was.
Because where is Cassidy?
Well,
we learned we're going to
I
talk
mean,
about
yeah, I
Cassidy.
know.
No,
But
we are gonna
at
talk
that
about
point, I was
Cassidy.
like, where is he?
Right, so they just, well, we're going to talk about Cassidy, but Genesis. Now, Jesse, like you were saying, can't get rid of it, and I think you brought up last week that Genesis is ordained by God. God gave or whoever or okay. He has Genesis.
Yes.
It's been given to him by a higher power of some sort.
I don't think it was given to him. I think he was chosen. I don't think Genesis goes by any rules.
Chosen by who?
I don't think
Genesis,
Genesis
maybe.
goes by any rules. I think Genesis chose him.
He's like, this feels good.
So Genesis,
Yeah.
Let's hang out here. Let me not explode.
Yeah.
so Genesis trumps God.
Yes, that's what Fiora de Blanc said.
Damn. Okay.
Wow.
All right.
We, for all of us comic book readers, we all know. We're all,
Well, we
mean,
know,
yeah,
but
but-
yeah, exactly. No, it's just interesting the way that they're doing that because I'm like, because it's coming back into him again, and it's like, okay, well, this is a pretty powerful thing. Is it from hell? Is it from heaven? I mean, I know it's a little bit of both, but it's just the power of it is really hard to grasp as a viewer. I feel like.
Well, I mean, like you brought up before, I think that Fiorin hit it on the head when he said, you've had this power for so long and you've done nothing good with it.
I think
So
he
what are you
said,
doing?
Okay.
What good have you done with it? You've had it at the tip of your tongue this entire. I even wrote it down.
No, yeah, I'm glad you did.
And what good have you done with it? And all of us were just like, That could have been all of us.
It's very true.
Yeah.
Very true. Well, okay, Cassidy. Let's move to Cassidy because I missed Cassidy.
Yes.
The show is very different when Cassidy's not on
Yeah.
it. It takes a whole different tone when
Well,
Cassidy's not there.
before we get to Cassidy, I kind of want to talk to Tulip because you guys were
Okay,
saying that
yeah.
Jesse before in the last episode was kind of an a-hole, and he was.
Yeah.
And he might be getting over it a little bit, but Tulip isn't. Tulip
No.
is still butthurt about it, which she has every right to be.
Every right to be, yeah.
And she, we see her going to adopt a dog, and I was like, I feel like she just.
Wait, all three of us were so super mushy over her adopting this dog. We were all just like, oh, Tulip, that's so sweet. And then she was
Yeah.
throwing the ball to the dog, and I was like, this is so sweet. I didn't know where it was going.
Well, I
but
thought it was
like, it's
because
sweet.
she felt lonely. I felt like
I did
Jesse
too.
really turned his back on her, and she has nobody else. Like they showed her uncle who's passed out on the couch, and she's really got nobody. Cassidy's gone, or so we thought. Jesse turned his back on her. She's nobody, and I feel like she just wanted a dog because dogs are like everything, you guys.
I know, and then she feeds the dog to Cassidy, who's behind the door, who needs the dog in order to heal. I mean, but to me, Cassidy's been eating sheep and cows.
Right. Why couldn't she just gone and got a cow?
Cow, thank you.
Well, but then she probably take it
to the living room.
But doesn't he, I think he needs more than a dog to mend also. Because he's burnt to a crisp.
Right.
So I'm wondering how many animals is this going to take?
But I actually, I just want to talk about with Tulip and Cassidy, that actually shows that Tulip actually cares about Cassidy.
Yeah.
Because, the last episode, when she asks Jesse, what did you do to him? And that question wasn't answered until today, but she sacrificed this dog to feed him. I mean, she's caring about him.
Well, they all, the thing about them is that they all care about each other in a very weird way. I mean, it's like there's Jesse and Cassidy and their relationship, which is, a strange relationship. But Cassidy always seems to have his back and takes care of him. And Jesse seems to always take care of Cassidy. And so they all take care of each other, which speaks to kind of that trifecta thing that we were talking about last week about, just their relationship. So, I mean, Tulip is getting more and more sensitive, I feel like, each episode. And so we're really starting to just see her real, true human side, not just the tomboy.
Let's keep in mind her backstory also. Like, she is a very fragile person. I mean, she's grown, she gives off this strength, but I feel like she is really fragile underneath. And I think that the whole development of her having this dog, and she didn't have to play fetch with this dog. No. She didn't have to pet it. She didn't have to kind of give it like its last good final moments, but she did. So I think that says a lot about who she is as a person. She is this sensitive, like caring person that's just, but had a really rough childhood.
I just have to say, I went to the county fair over the weekend, and they've got the milk cows, and then they have the beef cows, and I have a hard time saying hello to the beef cows because I know where that beef cow is gonna go eventually.
I know, it changed it, huh?
And so it's kind of like for her, I get she was giving the poor dog its last moments, but I'm all it would have just broken my heart. I would have been like, here, serve it up. Here's dinner.
Yeah. Do you feel like her relationship? Do you feel like Cassidy and Tulip's relationship is something's going to happen between them?
Maybe.
Possibly, and I also kind of want to bring up, remember how after he had fell through the window after Tulip pushed him out of the window at the brothel, and he was in the hospital and he drank the packaged blood? Does he heal differently, from gunshots or knife wounds with synthetic blood? Fine, or not synthetic, but packaged blood, fine. But if it's a really, really hard thing, like when he fell out of the plane, he needed the cow. This time he's burned to a crisp. Do you guys think it matters based on his injury what he needs to?
Possibly.
I don't know. This whole vampire, their whole backstory with the vampirism is completely different. He has no fangs. Crosses don't do anything. He can walk into a church. So, I mean, God only knows.
Okay, so I've been really trying. I've been trying to avoid this, but I can't avoid it. I just can't. I didn't even put it in our. I can't avoid it.
What?
That man got his penis shot off. I can't pretend like that didn't happen. His penis got shot off, and he was walking with it towards everybody.
You be quiet.
Okay.
You be quiet. Because I'm the one sitting here with a penis, and I will say that I was sitting there with my legs crossed. If this ever happened, I would.
Does a shock like that even exist?
First of all, when he started talking, I was like, shouldn't your voice be a little higher? I'm a little I was like, oh well, that would be your balls, not your penis. But
well, the funny part about it is I'm the one that's sitting closest to the television. You guys are a little far back, and I'm like, it looks like his crotch got shot.
I couldn't see at all until he started walking up, and I was just like, okay. And then I wasn't going to bring it up because I was like, maybe we don't need to. But then I'm like, how do we ignore something that big?
Here you go.
Get away from me.
Wow. All I can say is Jesse is a good shot. He's a great
really
shot.
Good shot. You know who's not going to be shooting anymore? Clive.
So true.
Yes.
Okay, well, we're going to end the portion of the show where we talk about tonight's episode, and we're going to get into the comic book part of the show. So we want to let you know that because it's just like a big warning, because we don't want you guys that are watching the show to, hear the comic book part. So we want to say goodbye. And we'll see you next week for sure. And thanks for tuning in and watching us here on Preacher. All right. So the comic book part, we're just going to go to that conversation before we go to break really quick. Jesse's father.
Yes.
So Jesse's father, I know that you brought up Jesse's father in the comic book versus what we've seen on television.
Well, I mean, obviously the television show has developed Jesse's father's character a lot more than in the comics. But I kind of just wanted to point out the fusion between the two of how, Jesse and Cassidy had that conversation about, his tattoos, and Jesse had turned around and he had that tattoo of the skull on his back with the Dallas star thing. And Cassidy asked him, who gave that to you? And he said, some mean old lady. And then with the flashbacks in the show of the guy shooting Jesse's dad, he had the same tattoo on his arm.
Right.
So,
and that was Jody, or was it TC?
Jody or TC. I think it's Jody, because Jody was more of like the smarter.
He was the, he was.
Yeah, TC was the guy that was fucking animals.
Yeah, he was having sex with chickens. But
Yeah. But I feel like they're going to introduce the grandmother at some point. Either the finale or next season.
Definitely, it would have to be next season.
It has to be next season.
If it's not the
and
finale,
this is the one thing that everybody's been bringing up in the YouTube chat, and I just feel that we're all waiting for them to go on their road trip, and they're just basically this entire first season is just establishing everything, that's eventually going to lead them on their trip.
But and it's funny that you say that, because I thought tonight when we were watching and Genesis left, or that they were going through that whole Genesis thing, I was thinking to myself, he's going to hit the road. Like, it's time, because when is he going to go and try to find God? You know what I mean? And when are they going to bring up the whole thing of God basically abandoning man, and he goes after to find him and everything? So I thought that was possibly going to happen tonight, but I think you're right, Kira. They're setting it up to get
Yeah,
on the
exactly.
road.
I definitely feel like they're setting it up, because we haven't seen that guy in the guy in the white. They brought up the Grail.
Right.
Like they've been hinting at all these things in the comics that I don't think they're going to get to this season, because they're setting it up. So I think that next season they're going to.
But something that we did talk about today is how they brought Kincannon so early in season 1, but in comics
he's later.
Yeah,
way later.
yeah. He's not even in Anvil. He's in Salvation.
No, he's in
And
Salvation.
it's
Yeah,
like
and he's not even in
yeah.
a whole. I mean, he's in 13. He's in like what, 12 or 13 issues.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But like this one, it just seems like he's all the way throughout or whatever. But I like that he's just as twisted. I mean, he's a little more twisted.
Yeah.
I don't know. Do you think he's a little more twisted in the comics? Like
Oh,
the stuff he
yeah.
was doing with the cows?
Yeah.
And yeah, he was a little more twisted.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see how they develop his character.
Yeah.
Maybe they might go on the same route with him, because it looks like it.
Yeah.
And he was holding guts, and he was asking, like, "Is this my daughter, or is this the cow?"
In the comic book, he was taking the carcasses of like pigs and chickens and cows and putting them together, of female pigs, chicken, and putting them together and like doing things. But anyway, okay, so the whole battle between Kincannon and Jesse, we know in the comic books they fight, and it's just an endless on and off fight with them.
Well, they fight because Jesse comes to the town and he becomes the sheriff.
Right.
So it's a completely different environment for him. He's not a preacher anymore. He's a sheriff.
Right.
And then, Kincannon has this feud with him, and no matter what he does, he can't win, and
Jesse's badass. That's
Right.
Because he can never win against Jesse, and that just fuels him even more. So I love that I can't wait to see what direction they take him in, because.
But I'm wondering what it is, and I'm sorry, I'm going to bring it back to the episode, or what happened with Kincannon, and how the word, its influence faded. Like in Grimjaw Jack was actually, we were talking about this in the comments, he was basically saying that the word doesn't work on family members, of Jesse's family members, but it didn't hold with Kincannon.
Well, because I'm gonna bring it back to the comics, because you're right. It didn't work on his grandmother or Jody and TC.
Yeah, it doesn't
but
work
Jody
with
and
them.
TC aren't his family members.
No.
So then, I guess
I don't
we'll just
know.
see
Maybe
how
it takes.
they do
Maybe
it.
it's like a special type of evil.
It's
Maybe
a
in the
special type
show,
of person
in the
that-
show,
yeah.
they're doing like a special type of evil person that just does not hear the word of God.
Right.
You know.
Or no, we just landed the plane. It's because Kincannon doesn't believe in God.
Yeah.
I think maybe
interesting,
that's.
too.
Maybe,
I've got to go back and read on that one, because now I'm like in the land of the lost. So now I got to go back and like check it out and everything. But all right. So what do you guys think? Like the comic, but I like where it's going. We can talk about it a little bit, more. But I think next week we should talk about like Tulip and Cassidy and that whole thing, because I know we didn't get a lot of them as much. So Kincannon and Jesse were the main thing, but there's so much more to flesh out, because there's a lot of information to give.
Can I ask you guys though?
Yeah.
So far, we're in season 8, or we're in episode 8. We have 2 more episodes left.
Right.
The way that this is developing, what are your personal thoughts on who your favorite character is?
Still Cassidy.
You?
Tulip. Just because I relate to her a lot more.
Okay.
And I feel like she's going through a lot.
I have
You
to
with
agree
me?
with you. I am
Yeah,
with you.
always.
I may not.
Me, always.
I may not be on Alicia's side. That's the Fear of the Walking Dead reference I'm making. But yes, I really like the way Tulip is going.
Yeah.
All right, well, we are going to take a quick break, and then we're going to come back with some questions, and we're going to see who Kira has on the chat, so don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
Yeah.
Food court, food court, food court, food court.
In case you missed it live.
In case you missed it live. In case you missed it live.
How did we not
my God.
figure that out?
High five.
We had a crazy vampire threesome.
And you can't unsee that. That's burned into my brain now.
I was like,
You know why we saying yes. You know why we saying yes. Look at me, I'm dancing.
He was like, yeah, I'll tell you whatever you want.
He is wait something.
And we're like, ooh, inseparable.
These hoes ain't look.
You just went to a totally different direction on that one.
I love it. That's genius.
We're funny.
Billionaire goes broke, it means he's got like $4 million.
There's got to be a code on that.
This might actually be a thing.
Somebody better take some pictures of this.
What did I do? What is there?
are we there yet? Can we talk about this?
We've been waiting all night.
I don't like to break nails.
You can't count anything out.
It's been another awesome night at the Stream.tv, guys.
Thank you for joining us, you guys.
Hey everybody, we're back. Thank you for joining us again. Thank you for joining us tonight. Hit subscribe and click like and just follow us here at the Stream.tv for all your favorite after shows. All right. So one thing that I forgot that I wanted to bring up about still in relation to the comics, and then we're going to go over to some quick shout outs and things like that. Eugene, Arseface. Now in the comics, he actually pulled a gun on Jesse. Very interesting how this has unfolded where, you know, Jesse has damned him to hell and, you know, that whole thing has taken place. That's a big difference, you know, between the two because he was up in the comic books, he was upset with Jesse because he blamed him for killing his father, you know, and so I don't know. I think if they would have handled it that way in the show, I think it probably would have been gone that fast with Eugene. But he seems to be a character that, because I don't feel like it's the last time that we've seen him. I feel like somehow he's coming back. In the comic books, people get reincarnated. I don't know how they're going to handle it on the show.
See, in the show, I like Eugene's character. I like how he was bullied. I like his backstory with Tracy. I like his relationship with his dad. I don't like Sheriff Root's character. I feel like if they had stuck to the comics, and maybe they will, like we said, you know, maybe they're setting it up. But I feel like if they stuck to the comics of having this relationship with his dad being so mean to him and so like cut off from him, I feel like that would fuel a development of what Arseface is in the comics, but I don't see that happening right now in the show.
Okay.
Like I just don't, because he's got his dad and he's
That's
got,
true.
or maybe they're setting it up where his dad is being so nice to him, so we're seeing this relationship, so it's like he's even more impacted when his dad dies.
Yeah, and I'd like to see even more of the relationship between Jesse and Sheriff Root because, you know, in the comic books, he told him to go F himself, and he literally did.
Oh, yeah, that was a good one.
So,
that was a good scene. Yeah, I forgot about that.
so I mean, I'd like to see that like fleshed out a little bit more. But okay, well, I guess we'll get to it. We'll see what happens the rest of this season. But Kira, do we have any shout outs or anybody saying anything to us in the chat?
Wow, we've got some. You guys always. Oh my God, the comment section was just. I mean, it was so many comments.
Because our fans are awesome.
Because our fans are awesome and we love you. I just want to shout out. Let's see.
And Kira gave you a song.
I gave you a song. Tan Stewie 17, Grimjaw Jack. He always comes in and comments. Let's see. Hellblazer. Mike Rawlings was back. Hi, Gabriel. How are you doing? DP 2024. He wanted to say I want to give this show a chance and finish the season, but I'm so close to deleting my DVR season pass. It's been a while since I read the comic, but this is not the Jesse Custer I remember. Why bother adapting a very popular story if you're just going to go that far away from the original? So far, the biggest disappointment of the TV season for me. So I just really hope that you stick it out. You know, maybe they'll have some, a good bang boom at the end, or just stick it out so you can watch us on the after show.
I actually, and to be fair to him too, I saw some comments about how people were saying that they wish that it had been a Showtime or HBO show, so that they could have gotten as graphic as they did in the comic, in the comics.
But
so
they say the same thing about The Walking Dead.
They do.
So it's
they do. That's true. Okay, well, I like it.
Yeah.
I like it too. I mean, you did bring up a good point. DP brought up a good point, sorry, of the difference between Jesse in the show and Jesse in the comics. Because I feel like Jesse in the show, the comics is more, I don't know, debonair, suave.
Yeah, he is. Yeah, he is.
Like, I feel like in the show, he's more...
He's more human.
He is more
He's
human.
definitely more human.
Is that bad? Am I bad?
It's not
to say
bad.
that?
I just want to give a shout out to the guys that are actually in the chat, because you guys are really awesome. Thank you so much. We've got TJ Kidska, and we've got Danielle Ayala. Praise, hello. I'm glad that you made it in the chat, even though you haven't watched the episode yet. Kyle, how you doing? Third Person Infamous, and That Kid Chris. Thank you guys for joining us on the chat.
Thanks,
we love
guys.
you. Thank you so much.
And then also I wanted to give a big thanks to all of the people that have joined the Preacher fan group on Facebook. You guys have been joining and posting and just, making it just a really great community to talk about Preacher.
Yeah.
So thanks so much, and tell a friend, and we'll just keep adding people and just, really kind of pamper ourselves when the show is over so that we can get ready for the second season.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, well, we want to thank you guys so much for joining us tonight for another episode of the Preacher After Show. We will be back next week for another episode. And until then, make sure that you tweet us at #PreacherAS. I wasn't used to saying that because I'm used to you saying it.
I used it.
At #PreacherAS, and then just keep in contact with us all week, and make sure that you tweet us and follow us on Facebook so that we can all talk to each other. Have fun. You know what I mean? All right, so have a great week. Be safe, and let the church say,
Amen.
Amen.
Bye, guys.
Food court. Food court.